So you go right ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our live update. We are coming to you. We have our representative from the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mr. Harvey Farrell, who is the Vice President at the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross. And we also have with us Rhea Pierre, who is the Disaster Management Coordinator for the International Federation of the Red Crescent and Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. She is based in the Port of Spain office. And I am Trevesa DaSilva, the Communications Officer for the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent, also based with the Port of Spain office. And today you would have heard about the latest in terms of the explosive eruption with the Soufrière, volcano. And so we have with us Mr. Farrell to tell us a bit more on what's happening in the ground. So Mr. Farrell, we're going to ask you to just share with us what's happening. What's the latest there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
Hi, good evening. Yes, my name is Harvey Farrell, and as you said, I'm the president of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross. I'm actually live. I am on the road now, but this morning we had a couple of large explosions, and some of those explosions continued into the day. As a matter of fact, about half an hour ago, we were actually standing outside the Red Cross headquarters looking at a plume of cloud hanging overhead, and it was really spectacular but scary at the same time. I've just come from delivering supplies to one shelter, and we are actually on our way to another shelter delivering supplies. So that's what we have been doing most of the day so far.
All right. And we know you're very busy. So, of course, this live won't be long. It's just a short, quick update. I want to thank you for joining us. So the Red Cross has been on the ground, and we understand that you have been providing support even before the eruption in terms of the few months leading up from December when there was first concern about the volcano. We know that the Red Cross has been on the ground and helping with preparation activities. That's correct. Can you tell us more about some of that activities that you've been doing leading up to this point in time, and how has that helped to ensure people are prepared?
The thing is, because we were very fortunate to have been given quite a bit of lead time in terms of warning, because the volcano started eruption really in late December. And that has helped us in somewhat to be even more prepared. We were able to do quite a bit of assessments. The Red Cross sits on a number of committees for the national response. For example, we are part of the Ministry of Health subcommittee on health, and we also look at a lot of the logistics work with NEMO, and we are also responsible for finding persons and so on who might be displaced. So these are some of the things we were able to put in place, the mechanism to respond to these. And what we have also been doing is providing training for a number of the CDRT groups, that's the community disaster response groups in the various areas, particularly those in the red zone. And we have also been preparing those CDRTs in the green zone that have to shelter people when they come into an evacuation center. So we have been quite busy laying the work and preparing for this eventuality.
All right, that's awesome to hear. And we really appreciate all the hard work that the volunteers and staff of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross that you're doing there in St. Vincent. And our heart goes out to you as well for, just every support that you need. You know that the entire Caribbean, the entire world is backing you right now. And we know that the Red Cross is also supporting in terms of the evacuation and providing other support in terms of the shelters and so forth, right? You mentioned that earlier. Is there anything else that the Red Cross is doing at this time that you would like
Yes,
to
a
share
number
with?
of our volunteers have been on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm saying a number of our volunteers have been out last night because a lot of the persons were moved last night. We had a number of them out assisting, going and particularly assisting with the elderly and other persons who may have challenges. What we have been doing since last night.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm afraid that our quality seems to be. I am being a bit challenging hearing you now.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Farrell, for sharing those updates. And we know that you're busy, so we won't keep you. So we're going to allow you to head off, and we'll head over now to Rhea Pierre, who is our disaster management coordinator. Of course, Mr. Farrell, if you can stay on, that's fine, just in case we have any questions coming in the chat, because persons are able to send their questions. So just in case you're able to stay on, then you can do that. But we're going to head on over to Rhea Marie for us to hear from her how the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent is supporting the National Society in this response.
Hi, afternoon, Trevesa. Thanks for having us. So happy to shed some light on what we've been doing, not only in the past 24 to 48 hours, but as Mr. Farrell said, we've been working with the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross since last December to ensure that preparedness is paramount in the National Society and that we are able to suitably and effectively help the members of the communities that would have been impacted and have now been impacted by the explosive eruption from the La Soufrière volcano. So, most notably, over the last 48 hours, the National Society has contacted us and they have requested international assistance. So that has triggered our internal operations, meaning we are now in the process of preparing something called a draft, which is a disaster relief emergency fund. So we're in the process of literally planning the operation and getting funding for the operation in conjunction with our partners at UNICEF, with our partners at USAID, BHA, and all the different actors that are operating throughout the region. We are in constant communication with the National Society to make sure that their needs are met and that we have the most up-to-date information that we can in terms of the needs assessments and any other activities that have been going on the ground. Sedima, literally about half an hour ago, 45 minutes ago, I got off a call with Sedima and the other regional partners where we heard from UE Seismic, we heard from the director at NEMO, just to get some real first-hand information about what is going on the ground and what is needed. So we are getting reports and we are seeking to address these reports of needs for water. Water is the main concern right now because unfortunately they've had to shut down the water systems because of the ash falls to prevent all the sediments and silts and all the other silicas that come with ash falls from disrupting the water treatment systems. So that's a major concern. We are also working to develop shelter protocols with the National Society because the National Society has a role in the national system for shelter management. We also need to keep in mind that this country is really going through a lot. It's a triple barrel situation.
Yeah.
They have COVID. Everyone is dealing with COVID, but a lot of people may not know that they're also grappling with an outbreak of dengue from last year into this year. It's one of the worst outbreaks that they've had. And now, obviously, this is compounding the situation even further. So we are trying to keep all of these scenarios in mind when we're dealing with shelter management. So we want to make sure that obviously the COVID-19 protocols are adhered to. So we are hoping to be able to install wash basins, hand washing basins and sinks in all of the active shelters right now, given that the National Society, as Mr. Farrell rightly said, is really in charge of shelter management and assisting the government and the Ministry of Social Development in particular in shelter management. They have to make sure that the people are registered both at the evacuation sites and at the shelters. We are working with them to secure personal hygiene kits for males, females, children, and babies. And again, keeping in mind the COVID-19 contact, we're working with our partners in the Red Cross in the region with Perak to make sure that we can supply COVID-19 hygiene kits for persons who are coming into the shelters. So that will be your hand sanitizers, your masks, and your face shields in particular. We want to make sure as well, in collaboration with UNICEF, that children are really taken care of within our shelters, and we want to make sure that people feel safe knowing that their children can come to the shelters and not have any unpleasant, we'll put it that way, interactions in the shelter. So we are collaborating with our partners at UNICEF to make sure that we create safe spaces for children, and we're offering psychosocial support through the National Society, because we have a lot of volunteers trained in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in psychosocial support, because this must be such a traumatic time for anybody who is going through this. I mean, I can't imagine leaving your house and not knowing what you're gonna come back to.
Ash, fire, like
everything you don't know.
Yeah.
So we acknowledge that it has to be quite a weight on the shoulders of persons who have to evacuate to these shelters, not knowing what will greet them. And it's not even tomorrow or next week. It may be for quite some time. We just really don't know.
And not just the effects now, but the fact that they've been dealing with this for the past 3 months, and to know that it's happening now, the explosive eruption is happening now. So I'm glad that you mentioned the psychosocial support, because that is something that often gets overlooked in a lot of response situations. But the Red Cross has always paid attention to not just the physical response, but the psychosocial response as well. So I'm happy that you mentioned that, because of course that is a critical component of the response, because as you mentioned, triple threat, COVID-19, which the Red Cross I know has been working in helping with prevention measures, helping with risk communication, and encouraging persons to stay safe, to wear their masks, etc. And also dengue, which has been with them for a while as well. So
quite a while. I believe the outbreak, I want to say around November. October, November is when it really started to get out of hand. And again, the National Society called on us for support, for international support. And with our partners in the region through Perak, we were able to provide long-lasting insecticidal nets for quite a few people. We were able to provide supplies for cleanup missions throughout the island. They did drum-proofing activities as well. Because, I mean, water storage is something that as islanders we have to do. That's just the reality. But unfortunately, what we need is also a breeding ground for mosquitoes. So we have to make sure that we can balance that situation. And even now, with the call for water, because as I said, they had to shut down the water supply currently in St. Vincent, we have to make sure that we take all these things into consideration as well, because we don't want to further compound the situation by adding to an already stressful and already high risk and already vulnerable population. So all of these things is what we're dealing with right now.
We have our work cut out for us, but I just want to say, keep up the amazing job that you've been doing in helping to coordinate with the National Society and with our regional office in Panama, and also an amazing job to the National Society. I can't imagine what it is or what it has been like just dealing with all of these issues from November last year until now, dengue, COVID-19, and now the volcanic eruption, which has been brewing for some while. So, they would have been expecting it. But of course, with the explosive eruption this morning, and we understand that they have had several other explosions since this morning. So, the situation is unfolding. And from what we saw on the US seismic account, we can also expect several explosive eruptions over the next few days and weeks. So it is a situation, Rhea, that, of course, requires constant monitoring and assessment. And the Red Cross is there on the ground. The Red Cross has been there before the eruption. They're there during the eruption, and of course,
And
the
they
Red
will
Cross
be
is
there
there
after.
right? The Red Cross is
Definitely.
always there, and working in partnership with agencies like NEMO and UNICEF, as you mentioned, and other organizations on the ground, because of course
NEMO,
we are all
USAID.
together.
USAID is also another major
USAID.
partner that we are going to be collaborating with. And I really want to stress that it's not only the Red Cross in St. Vincent that are pledging their support, but we definitely have received pledges of support from our CARICOM brothers and sisters. So we are hoping to have a meeting tomorrow with all the presidents and DGs about to coordinate efforts, because as we said, we don't want it to be this influx of aid and then people are being overwhelmed. So we are coordinating with our Red Cross brothers and sisters in St. Lucia, in Dominica, in Grenada, in Barbados, to see, in Trinidad and Tobago, to see how we can make sure that this is really a coordinated effort in support of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, not only the Red Cross, but their population at large.
Yes, and the support has been overwhelming. I've been seeing messages from our sister Red Cross societies asking about how they can help, how they can support. So, you know, we are just, as the message says, we are in this together, and we have really seen that coming out, because they have been offering assistance and offering support. We're going to have to wrap up, Rhea, and we really hope that we can have another one of these live updates soon. Yes. So we want to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to hearing some more in the next coming days about what's happening on the ground and how we are responding. Are there any last words that you'd like to add? I know you mentioned the draft that's being prepared, the emergency plan of action.
Yes.
So that's funding that's going to be needed. Would you like to push a?
So yes, that's when we jump off of this call, I'm going to go to another one and back to the computer to be planning this emergency operation. The key, as I was saying before, the key elements that we're going to be including are the support to shelters, because the National Society has a key role in shelter management. We're going to make sure that we incorporate the wash activities, the water, health and sanitation activities, because we want to make sure that people who enter our shelters are safe and they feel comfortable and secure. We're going to make sure that there's psychosocial support available for people in the shelters, and particularly for children, and making sure that there's safe spaces in our shelters for children, and we're able to provide the necessary blankets and different, just your normal toiletries that you will need when you're in a shelter. I really, really want to commend the work that the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross has been doing. I mean, I feel like I'm bothering them a lot of the time, because they're just trying to get the information, and they're always ready to take your call. They're always ready to provide the information that we need, because they recognize that it's in support of them, and it's in support of the work that they are doing, and we're here to support them 110% of the way.
Right.
They've really been on the ground. I know the Director General actually she lives in the red zone, so she has been there on the ground with the volunteers, with the community, making sure that persons are evacuated, making sure that persons are safe. And as Mr. Farrell said, their focus really is on the vulnerable population as well. They've been in contact with the Ministry of Social Development to make sure that the vulnerable population in particular are adequately housed. In this situation, we just really want to make sure that they are not part of the forgotten group. So I really, really, really want to commend all the work of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross National Society.
Awesome. They've been doing an awesome job. And thank you so much again for coordinating the response. And thank you to Mr. Farrell, who joined us earlier from the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross. Of course, he had to leave because he's out in the field, but we want to thank him so much for joining. And as I said earlier, we will have another one of these updates soon. We will keep you in the loop as things progress, and we will keep you updated as well as what the Red Cross is doing and how you can support, because as you heard earlier, there is an appeal that will be going out. There is a draft that's being developed, but I'm sure the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross might also need support. So we will share more information on that in terms of how exactly you can provide support to the National Society. So thank you again, Rhea, and thanks to all of you who have joined. We appreciate you coming on. Yes, and keep up the awesome work. Thank you everyone for joining, and we will keep you updated. All right, have a pleasant good afternoon.
Bye everyone. Thank you.